As we were preparing for this week's show, Rose told us that she had been up late until the wee hours of the morning, binging a TV show she just couldn't get enough of. And yeah, we've all been there. Work and responsibilities be damned. Sometimes we just need to watch one more episode of that addictive series, no matter how tired we'll be the next day. There are literally shows we won't sleep on. So we got to thinking about the last time the three of us each stayed up late binging a series, and it wasn't all that difficult to come up with some immediate answers. I will start off first. I was lucky
Wait,
enough
before you
to get
start, I just want to say
Yeah.
that little write-up intro to this whole thing. I mean, kudos to you. That was really clever. I love the writing to this, David. Good job. I like it.
Thank you. All right. I'm hyped now. All right, my first pick. I was lucky enough to get a sneak peek at the upcoming Netflix documentary, The Tinder Swindler, which premieres next Wednesday, February 2nd. The documentary follows a group of women who found themselves charmed by a man on Tinder, a man who took them on private jets, flew them to exotic locations, bought them fancy dinners and expensive things, and claimed he was the heir to a diamond empire. But this man is not all that he seems, and that's where this documentary really hooks you. It's under 2 hours long, but I got a craving to watch it at like midnight last week, and I just had to get it out of my system. I'd been thinking about this, so I watched it, and I was just on the edge of my seat because what's crazy is like, I'm not going to spoil anything, but he really does take them to do all these things. Like he does take them on jets. He does give them fancy things, takes them into exotic places. So where does the swindle come in? That's what you'll have to watch and find out. I highly recommend The Tinder Swindler if you like true crime, documentaries, or wild stories that just make your jaw drop. It premieres on February 2nd. Yeah.
I think I've heard the story before.
It was out there. Like it was covered in the news, and they actually called this guy the Tinder Swindler in the news before it became the title of this documentary. So you might have heard about it, but well worth watching. My next pick was truly one that kept me up until the early hours of the morning, and I know several of our fellow editors also became obsessed with it. Station 11 on HBO Max is a limited series based on the 2014 novel of the same name. The show is set 20 years after a global pandemic wipes out most of humanity. It's a little too close to home. And it follows a group of survivors who travel the post-apocalyptic world performing plays for fellow survivors. The show also jumps back and forth in time, showing how these characters initially avoided the pandemic and catches up with them in present time as a cult leader threatens everything they've built. It's really hard to describe this show. It's beautiful. I mean, that's what I can say. It's beautiful, beautifully written, beautifully acted, beautifully filmed. The music and the costuming is fantastic. It's just really great storytelling, and I would love to see Mackenzie Davis and Matilda Lawler, who play young and older versions of the same character, earn Emmy nominations for their performances. There were times when I legit stayed up until 3 a.m. waiting for the new episode of Station 11 to drop on HBO Max. Because, you know, it drops midnight on West Coast, 3 a.m. on East Coast. I needed to know what happened. I could not wait. I stayed up till 3 a.m. and then watched the new episode because I just had to know. So
see, that's when you know it's good, when you don't sleep because you need to watch it. You need the information from that episode, or you just need to stay up till the end. That's when you know it's a good show. This endorsement, David, I feel like it was on my radar, but it could have just fallen off. But because of this endorsement from you and the way you described it, and it isn't like end of world situation. I don't know why I would not like that anyways, but no, this has now moved this on the top of my list, and maybe I won't sleep on this.
What's so good about this, and what I love about what really good post-apocalyptic movies and films do, is that they create a world that feels lived in. Like and they don't over-explain much. You just believe these characters have lived in this post-apocalyptic world. They're just doing their thing. Like things just are as they are. I don't know if that's like the best way to describe it, but it just feels lived in, and small details are really well done, and it's emotional, and you would like it as our post-apocalyptic guru. You'd be very into it.
I don't know if guru is the right term. Fearful.
Yeah.
I think it's more accurate.
So Rose, tell us what you stayed up to watch, which is what kicked off this entire conversation.
Oh my gosh. Oh, yes. I was like, I'm tired because I didn't want to sleep because I was watching Cheer. That's right. Season 2. I pulled an all-nighter. You know, the last time I pulled an all-nighter, like literally did not sleep because season 2 was out. I needed to see Monica address the Fallen from Grace breakout star. That was Jerry. Gabby, who, by the way, if you don't know who Gabby is, she's an amazing athletic individual, and I feel like she's the poster child too. If you ever doubt that a cheerleader is not an athlete, you just see what the amazing things that this woman can do, like hands down. Lexi, Morgan, Ladarius, which by the way, Ladarius, sweetie, bless your heart, but you did your team dirty. You're just gonna have to stay up all night and find out if you don't know what I'm talking about, because hurt people, Ladarius. But regardless, the fact that they focused on Navarro, but also their rival team, which is like 45 minutes up the street, who, by the way, Navarro College lives rent-free in their heads, and for all the wrong reasons. I needed to know who came out on top in the end. That's why. And for all of these reasons, that's why I did not sleep on Cheer. That's what I'm sticking to. So.
Rose,
have either of you watched the first season of Cheer?
No, but Rose, I wanted to say, I don't know if either of you are aware that I actually have a high school varsity letter in cheerleading.
Really?
It's true. I was the mascot for my high school back in the day, and it earned me a varsity letter for cheerleading.
I thought you were actually cheerleading,
yeah, you
like
did.
doing backflips and twirls. I was going like, Dave, you gotta see something.
They put me up in a pyramid one time. I was cheering.
Really?
I knew the dances and stuff. Yeah, I could not flip.
But do you have pictures?
I had
do you have pictures?
A giant line.
Because if you don't have pictures, then it didn't happen.
I have plenty of pictures. But I 100, to your point, Rose, 100% respect the athleticism that goes into this. And I mean, it's also so dangerous. I mean, they really, wouldn't think like they put their lives on the line, which is crazy to think. It's a high school sport, and you could
this is college. This is college stunting.
Oh, right.
I was also a cheerleader too. Shameless plug.
What?
I was a 2-time All-American, and I know what I was a 2-time All-American and cheered at the Pro Bowl twice. However, the stunts.
Wait, what? Whoa!
I don't think I knew that about you.
I did not know that either. You can't just gloss past that, Rose. That's not a minor detail. You just breeze over.
Rose, were you a flyer?
We'll talk about it later. I was a base and a flyer.
Okay.
I was both. I was able to do both. But the thing is, the things that we did when I was doing all of that does not even hold a candle to the amazing agility and athleticism that is required to do just the most basic things, the things that are considered basic today. Mm-hmm. Layer that, the athleticism, the mental capacity that you need to compete in any sport, let alone cheerleading, on top of their individual stories, and top of the drama, and top of the pressure, and top of everything else. All of that combined, compelling stories, just it really, really pulls you in, which is why I could not sleep on this show, and why you shouldn't either. Watch season 1. I highly recommend starting with season 1 to understand the drama and the follow-up to season 2. But if you just wanted to jump into season 2 right now, they do a great job of catching you up to just to get right back into the story. Don't sleep on Cheer. Do not sleep on Cheer. Period. Okay. My next one was Selling Sunset. Exactly. But okay, my next one was Selling Sunset, which completely opposite. But to me, I love things about who tell things about stories, like what goes on behind the scenes. These are beautiful people selling real estate, but it's so much more than that, about their personal lives, about what drives them. The story of Chriselle If you've been under a rock, it's okay. Her and Justin Hartley had a little falling out, which played into the show. I mean, I had to see the follow-up to that. And then, of course, there's I can't remember. I think her name is Christine. I love to hate her, but I think I more love her because she knows her role. She knows her role as the villain. And I think that's why I love her even more. So with that said, don't sleep on Selling Sunset too. It may be beautiful people selling real estate, but it's so much more. And another final note, fun fact, if you love the stylistic produced look and storytelling of The Hills, Adam DeVillo executive produced The Hills and also executive produced Selling Sunset. You won't be disappointed. Don't sleep on it.
Nice. Guam, I never knew what the show's about. But now I know.
Yeah, I didn't either. But I've heard so many people who watch it for sure.
Same.
Quam, what are the shows that you're not sleeping on these days?
Okay, so a little background. I rewatched Game of Thrones probably a million times, and I don't know, I'm like a huge rerun junkie. But it came to a point where I was like, I can't keep rewatching this show. I got to move on. I got to move forward. And I was looking for the next best thing. And so I've heard a lot about The Witcher on Netflix, and I know that it had a season 2 come out. So I was like, okay, this seems like a good time to start this show. And to my disappointment, it was nothing like Game of Thrones. But that might have been a good thing because it's still a really amazing show. It's nothing like Game of Thrones. Like, don't go into it thinking it's like Game of Thrones. The only thing's the same is like the fact that it's
your setup, Quam.
No, I was like super disappointed, but I was like so excited when I started getting into the show and seeing how like it's like like an adventure show with like just like awesome characters and magic and creatures in this mystical land, and it kind of like jumps from different time periods, so you really have to like stay focused because you can get lost super easy, but it just like adds to the intrigue once you start seeing like characters meet up with other characters from different time periods, and these timelines start to like interwove and get connected. It's like, whoa, my mind is just like all over the wall right now. And it was such an amazing ride that like I started it at like maybe like 10 o'clock, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch like 2 episodes. And then before I knew it, I was like 6 episodes deep, and I'm like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. I need to go to sleep. And it is one of the shows that kept me up because it kept me engaged, and I was just so enthralled with the show. Henry Cavill as like a magical badass. I did not know I needed that in my life because I saw him as Superman and didn't know that like, I needed him in another role like that. So I was so pleased. Not initially because I thought it was gonna be Game of Thrones, but when I found out it wasn't and found out what it was, I was so pleased. I was happy.
It's funny that you say that because you're not the first person that has shared with me that they haven't slept because they stayed up to watch The Witcher. No lie. So I guess there's something to be said about The Witcher. Maybe I gotta see it now.
If you love action and magic, it's like the perfect combination because like you get some awesome sword fights, you get some like really cool like mystical stuff. Like this is one episode where I think it's still in season 1, but where Henry Cavill's like fighting like this crypt monster. And it's like such an amazing battle. I'm just like, whoa, this is like really great. It was so good. It was so good. So I was like super excited for that. And yeah, it kept me up all night. What also kept me up all night was Peacemaker, the new show from HBO Max. So I was like kind of on the fence about watching it. So I was like a few episodes deep, before I started watching it. So I was like, all right, I got some episodes to catch up on, so I might as well just start watching it now. And I did not expect to be such a great show. Like John Cena is so much fun. It's like his charisma really comes through on the show as Peacemaker. And it's doing me proud as an old wrestling fan to see like John Cena like now become like an actual like bona fide actor, and seeing how far he's come. Like, I remember like when he first came out with the movie The Marine way back in like 2006 or 2005. Yeah, David, to see him in this role, I'm like, John, you're doing my heart so well, man. Like I love it. I love it. And the show is so much fun. It's so much fun. It has so much great action. It's super violent, but also super funny. And it's like everything I want in a superhero show. So definitely kept me up all night, catching up on it.
And that opening credit sequence.
Oh yeah, where they're all just like
dancing,
getting into it, like the choreography.
What are they doing?
They are popping and locking.
Yeah,
they are popping and locking.
Like, David, didn't you interview John Cena for this too, right?
Not only did I interview John Cena for that, but I interviewed the entire cast of The Witcher for that as well. So really great plugs for my hangouts with the cast of The Witcher and Peacemaker. Just say, hang out with David into your voice remote to watch them now.
Shameless plug.
But it's funny, Kwam, before I interviewed the cast of The Witcher, I had not watched the show. I hadn't seen it. And they gave me the first few episodes of the new season. So I watched 12 hours of The Witcher in a weekend. And
that's impressive.
It was a lot. I mean, I was up late. I was up early. I just watched the whole thing.
How long are
12
the
hours
episodes?
a weekend. An hour.
They're hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was 10 from the first season and 2 from the new season. But they're both really good picks, Kwam. Like, you're right. Peacemaker is so kind of unexpected. And it's funny because like John Cena, when you're talking about him being an actor, when like The Rock left wrestling to go be an actor, like John Cena took some nice little shots at The Rock saying like, I'll never be Hollywood. Like WWE will always be my home. I'm not going to be an actor wrestler. I'm a wrestler. This is what I'm going to do. And now John Cena doesn't wrestle anymore. He's just an actor. So he took a lot of shots at The Rock, but I mean, who's to say that he won't be back? But that's what The Rock did too. He came back every once in a while, but I think this suits John Cena.
Has John Cena eaten his words since then? Do we know?
He has not. I'm not going to be the one to try and make him eat his words either. Like, I'm not going to mess with that.
Imagine trying to tell him like, yo, you gotta come back now. You gotta double back on what you said.
Yeah, seriously. So to check out the shows we just discussed, just say what to watch into your voice remote.